Okay, I'm back. I hope it's still part of the same stream. And everybody left. Everybody left. Okay, well, I don't know how many people are here. I'm going to still go through the questions, and I'm hoping that the questions still add on, but I don't know if it's going to make me go to a whole new window or not. But I'm going to continue saying what I said before. Also, say hello to the little one. She came back. This is the one making all the noise. I really didn't want to put her on camera simply because she's, well, okay. She's not, I don't really want to go into, I don't like going into personal stuff. She's not really my kid. I'm taking care of her, but she's not really my kid. And somebody else's kid, I feel really bad broadcasting live. But she ran out here, and I figured, well, she's here, and I can watch her and keep her from making a lot of noise. So, yeah. But she really needs to get, she is so tired. She hasn't taken her nap. Anyway, it's funny. The chat is saying there's a lot of people, but it's only saying one person's watching. You know, at this point with my constant disappearing, coming back, I understand. I'm almost tempted to like see if I can like download, because there's got to be multiple copies of this video up at this point, and I'm wondering if I should just kind of download the raw file and edit it all into one freaking video and then just upload that with the information you guys need. Maybe that's what I should do. It won't have the chat going on the side, but it's better than nothing, right? Okay, so let me go back to what I was saying before about studying these other martial artists, like these other Italian rapier artists. The fact that you got certain guys, like I said, Capoeira is all about straight line attack, which if we're going to be comparing it to, say, Chinese martial arts, then that would make me think of something like, say, Xing Chuan, which moves in straight lines. Like, they just come right at you, and all the attacks come, boom, straight line. And with some angular attacks, obviously, they're not always going to march right in front of you. You know, they'll come at you in diagonals, but by and large, the attacks tend to move in straight lines. Whereas Baguazhang tends to work in curves. And if you're saying that there are other Italian rapier fighters who also work with curves, that definitely interests me, and I wouldn't mind checking it out, but it doesn't really surprise me. Yeah, you got stuff to say? You got stuff to say? You got martial arts stuff to talk about? You gonna talk about how to knock people out? Anyway, that's what I kind of have to say about that. And she's frustrated. This is the reason why I could not keep this on and do questions for much longer, because she doesn't stay still for long, and I can't have her running around while I'm doing this. So, and she's gonna get upset if she's getting frustrated because I'm holding on to her, but I have to hold on to you. Anyway, let me get on to the next question. I hope that answered your question. I haven't checked out the differences, but I wouldn't mind checking it out. So have I thought about sparring with the legendary wooden folding chair? No, because I can't really find anybody around who knows how to actually fight with it. Sorry. Oh, well, actually, are you talking about the wooden folding chair, or are you talking about the bench? I was thinking the bench. If you're talking about the bench, then yeah, definitely no, because there isn't a Jackie Chan person around that can teach me how to do that. So, did the Dian did they use spring steel in historical China? As far as I know, no. That's more a modern thing. Usually they tended to use laminated steels, folded steels, you know, similar to other Asian places. Spring steel seems to be something that is more of a modern thing to use, which I personally think would be superior to these older ones because they're more resilient. We just got better metals to work with, better ores to work with, but just better overall steel to work with than they did in the past. You cannot touch the sword. That is not for you. That's actually what she's pointing at. I'm not kidding. She's trying to reach for the sword over there. You cannot have it. Or are you reaching for this? Oh, you're reaching for... Okay, never mind. I was wrong. Okay, thanks for the link. I have a long sword, but I don't have a one-handed blade. I thought you wanted that. Oh, God. Okay, have I thought about doing more cooking videos? Yes. I promised in my last video that I was going to put up a really quick, fast, and dirty one on a really cool, and I mean cool as in cooling, not just cool as in shades. Did that even make any sense? I do plan on doing one soon, as just on the drink. Basically, it's how to make Thai tea on the cheap. Those of you who've been to, you know, eaten Thai food and gone to Thai restaurants know the tea I'm talking about. The orange tea with the milk, and it's really cold and it's really good. Is it that strong tea flavor and it's creamy? And they charge you an arm and a leg for it. And I don't know why, because it's actually ridiculously easy to make and you don't have to spend a whole lot of money to make it yourself. So I actually plan on doing a video for it. Again, the main reason why I haven't been doing more cooking videos is this kitchen is too small. And when I get into a better place, I do plan on bringing those videos back. But before I do that one, and I really need to hurry up and get this Thai tea one done. I just need to get the right angles to show you, so I can set the camera up and everything like that. So I can show you guys what ingredients to use and how easy it is to make Thai tea at home. There are other videos that show you how to do it. The thing that frustrates me about them, however, is that they all tell you to do the same thing. Get the tea from Thailand, or go to Amazon and buy that bag of authentic Thai tea. And that stuff costs a lot, and it doesn't have to. So when I finally get that out of the way, I'll show you guys how ridiculously easy it is to make your own. You don't have to spend a whole lot of money to do it. You really don't. And then the other cooking videos hopefully will pop up soon. Anything on Chinese shield techniques? Don't really have much. I've never really been trained in it. I know they used it, and I know if you've gone to there's some schools that actually still teach a couple of forms where you combine saber and shield, but unfortunately they seem to be few and far between, so I can't really help you there, but it is something that I would at least like to talk about at some point. Okay, somebody already answered that question. One question was redacted. Okay, Patrick Gray, who's always a regular. What's up? Any thoughts on Sino Sword JK making custom steel sparring swords? They might. This is something of a custom, and almost grabbed the wrong thing. This is something of a custom right here. It is their basic sparring sword. The thing is, I changed the handguard. The handguard that you normally would get is the one where I guess what you'd call these the quillions. I'm not sure if you can call this a quillion because of how short it is, but basically this part was pointing toward the blade, and I don't like that design. I like it where it's swept back. So I asked them if they would change the handguard. They're like, yeah, sure. And they did. So, and then not only that, but this itself is based on a design that someone else asked for, which was basically supposed to be their answer to the Scott Rodell cutting gen. This was designed by someone else, and then they liked it, and now they're offering it. In fact, a couple of the swords that they sell on their website was originally designed by someone else, and they're like, hey, this is pretty good. We should just make this all the time. So I wouldn't be surprised if you asked them to make a dull version, that they could probably make one for you. Would it be exactly like the one that Scott Rodell makes? I don't know. Because that one was, specifically made for sparring, with the folded tip and all that. They probably need to get their hands on one and reverse engineer it or something. But maybe if you yourself have an idea of how it should be made and you tell them exactly how you want it to be made, they might be able to work with it. I mean, they've done it for other people. They've made some rather unusual stuff for other people. So, yeah, it's worth a shot, actually. Asking them, can you make this, and give them specifics, and it probably would work. So, now, this question is, how is the gen measured in proportion to the height of the user? Would it make any difference in blade length compared to what the European sword masters had to say? This, again, is coming from Belyayev Fox. And if I'm butchering the name, I'm sorry. Not really. More or less, I've generally found that when it comes to measuring blade length, I mean, there's some differences here and there. Some places, depending on the style, say, oh, the blade needs to be up to here. Oh, no, the blade needs to be over here. Generally speaking, I've found that when it comes to practical usage, it's always like built to your height in terms of like the general length is, as long as you're not hitting the ground every time you put the blade this way, you're fine. That's a big overgeneralization I'm doing there, but it tends to be what I see. The length is always made for the specific usage. So if, for instance, you're going to be doing a lot of cutting and you don't want to hit the ground too much, and they obviously don't want the blade to be much longer than, say, past your your waist, and definitely not past your navel. And even shorter swords, depending on, like, for instance, one thing I can think of is, like, say, I forgot the Chinese name for these, the butterfly swords that they use in Wing Chun and other southern styles. You notice that the reason why they're short like that is because they're doing a whole lot of spinning like this. You want water? I'm going to have to get you some water. You are crying for water. It is hot in here. It is hot in here. I will get you some water in a bit. In fact, all right, let me answer this question real quick, then I'm going to get some water, and I'll be back for another couple of questions. Yeah, like they basically make the weapons for its use, and obviously its use is also geared toward the user. So if the user has rather long arms, this blade might be longer than somebody with shorter arms trying to do the same inverse turning motion that you tend to see with the butterfly knives or butterfly swords, however you want to call them. Gen use would probably be similar, depending on the technique and depending on the person. You know, you're gonna want the weapon to be kind of matched with the height. Now nowadays, asking somebody to tailor make a sword specifically for you is usually asking for a lot, and you got to be willing to put in a hell of a lot of dosh for it. Which is why you generally tend to see when it comes to gen fighting, like the weapons tend to be. I always see them sold in about 3 lengths for single use, either 28 inches, 30 inches, or 32. It's always those 3. I've seen some other variants, but they tend to be rare. Usually the uniform lengths that they give, the sizes to fit all, so to speak, the choice to fit all, I should say, either get a 28, 30, or 32. And you'll see some people going, well, traditionally it has to be 28 because yada yada yada, and other people, well, traditionally it has to be that. And ultimately it's just to your own personal usage. If you like using a longer sword, use a longer sword. You know, like me personally, I like working with 30 to 32. I'm not that tall a dude. I'm like only 5'7". So generally speaking, I probably should be, you know, traditionally speaking, I should be working with a 28. I don't like working with them. They feel too short for me. So I tend to go for 30 to 32s. Like, this is a 30. This feels great. My Hanjen is 32. That feels great. I don't have a problem using it. So, and I'm thinking, as far as what I've seen about the European sword masters, it's sort of a similar thing. Like, it's basically made for both the use of the weapon and the person using it. So I guess that's the best answer I can give. I will be right back. Going to get us some water. The kitchen's literally right over there. And then when I get back, I will... Oh, yeah. And actually, you know, I'm going to continue your question because you just brought up something about the blade lengths, and that goes into usage. So give me a second. I'll be right back. Just give me a moment. Okay, you need water. We will get you water. Look at you making me having to put my personal life on camera. You know I don't like doing that. You definitely need to get some sleep. You did not take your nap today. Naughty child. She did not take her nap today. She did not. That's part of the reason why she's so overly cranky. Well, part of that is that, and also the fact that it's like, what, 90-something degrees right now? Anyway, to go on with what you said about George Silver specifically, specified blade lengths of 37 to 40 inches. I'm guessing that that's either rapier or longsword, right? If that's the case, that makes a lot of sense. And that should also correspond to why with weapons like these, and also what I'd say like Japanese weapons or whatever, you tend to see more 28 inches, 30 inches. When you're thinking of the longsword, or at least when I'm thinking of the longsword, I'm thinking of, you know, a proper longsword. Two-handed. Oh, it's saber? Okay, well, saber. A saber for 30 to 40 inches? Are we talking about an actual curved saber or a fencing saber? Because that seems kind of weird. Well, yeah, taller people would make sense. What are you talking about? You cannot touch the keys. Well, okay, let me get back to the other question, my own speculation and my unlimited... And she dropped her cup. She is so freaking overtired. Here you go. Yeah, I'm going to have to cut this off soon, which is a shame because you guys are bringing up some really interesting stuff. All right, let me just talk about it from the Chinese side of things. Generally speaking, what I've seen with a lot of cut and thrust swords is that they don't really go too much past 32 to 34 unless it's used two-handed. But when I look at the European side of things, when they go for one-handed, they really like that reach. So they tend to go for 34, 36, 40, especially with the rapier because they want that reach advantage, especially with the lunge. With the Chinese weapons I use, particularly with the Gen, which is a cut and thrust sword, or if you're going with a pure cutter, you're having that reach is important, but the longer you make the weapon, the heavier it gets and the harder it is to wield with one hand. Unless you're willing to use two hands, you need to calm down. You don't want me to put you back in the back room, do you? Yes or no? I'm not... Oh, you want one of these? Is this what you're asking for? I'm only going to give it to you if you don't break it on the ground again. If you break it on the ground again, this is the last one. So you got to properly eat it. I know it seems weird that I'm actually speaking like this to a baby that's barely 2 years old, but believe it or not, she's actually able to pick up the meaning of what I'm saying. Okay, no, the feeling of what I'm saying. You'd be amazed. Like when I actually like, hey, she gets it, even if she doesn't necessarily know what hey means. See, now she's eating it. I'm thinking this video is ending up to be a lot more than just about Chinese weapons and stuff. All right. Anyway, with the way I'm seeing that with when you're dealing with a style, it's more about, okay, I really need to peg this guy from a long range, and it's usually with thrusting stuff, the weapons tend to go longer, even if it's one-handed, and they'll balance the weapon for that. Whereas if you're working with cutting swords or cut and thrusts, then you gotta make sure to balance that thing out so that it doesn't feel too cumbersome, because you need more mass in the blade for the cut. And that's when I notice that the weapons lengths get shorter unless they're two-handed. Because I know, at least on the Chinese and Japanese side of things, when you got a dedicated two-hander and you really want that, especially for battlefield weapons, you want that reach, then I see the weapons going to 36 inches, 40 inches. Like, there are actually some Chinese two-handed swords I've seen go 40 inches. I wish they sold more of them, but I don't see them much sold anymore. Normally now I'm seeing their two-handed weapons, unless they're curved. Usually the straight swords I'm always seeing at the most 36, which is ridiculous because you look at the more antiques and they go around 40. But again, that's if they are able to support it with that second hand. If it's one-handed, and you remember, when you're trying to cut, you need that mass. And if that weapon just it's too long and you don't have it balanced just right, it's going to be cumbersome as hell. And a weapon that's just too heavy for you to use in the battlefield is a weapon that's going to get you killed. Even, especially on the civilian side of things. The civilians tend to work with lighter weapons anyway. So, yeah, like the dandao. The dandao would be a really good example of that, where it's got that mass, but it's two-handed. Of course, then, if we're going to be talking about dandao, we're also going to be asking what type of dandao we're speaking about. Are we talking about what people think of when they say dandao, which is that weapon that we tended to see the Chinese use in World War II? Or are we just going to say just dandao in particular, where it just generally means big saber, big knife? And just about anything can be called that. But yeah, there's certain dandao that tend to be pretty long. Like, in particular, I think of like either the shuangshudo, which is like, that thing is massively long, and it's definitely made with two hands. It almost is like a pole arm with a really long blade. And then there's of course the miyado, or some people call it the Republican saber, which is kind of katana-like in terms of its general overall shape and use. But again, it's a pretty long weapon. It looks more like a daichi or a okatana than, a typical, saber. I hope that rambling mess that I said these past few minutes actually made any sense whatsoever. There we go for that. Let me go back up there. Let's see here. Drinks on my profit margin. I didn't see that. We already answered that question. Have I heard of Wukusi Armory for synthetics? No, I have not. This is my first time hearing about them, so that's someone I'm going to have to check out. I will copy that. And you dropped it, didn't you? I will check out Wukusi, Wukusi Armory. And already I'm looking at some of those, and it looks interesting. I see they got a Facebook page, like you mentioned. This is your last piece. I can't fit all these. How much room do you have in your stomach? You ate dinner already. You keep asking for these. Yeah, I will definitely check that out. That's another reason why I like doing these. You guys hit me with a lot of information, as well. I'm just hoping that my information is worth the exact same amount that your information to me is. Enjoyed any of the recent trailers from San Diego Comic-Con? Haven't seen all of them yet. I've seen a couple that made me go, the Aquaman one, it's making me think it might not suck as much as I thought it was going to, though I'm still wary about it. There was another one I saw that made me go, it's not too bad. But I haven't seen all of them yet, so, but I really, part of the reason why I haven't really seen too much lately, this whole week has been insane. I've been working 11-hour shifts since Tuesday. Today is my first day off. So I haven't really been able to enjoy stuff on the internet for about a week. I got a lot of catching up to do, but I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I gotta catch up on all that stuff and check it out. Had I heard of Frederick Townsend Ward? I want to say yes, but I can't. Nothing is really springing to mind right now. Discount sent $5. Thank you very much. And He's asking, does a Shinai make a decent practice gen? It's misspelled, but who cares? We're not all perfect. Strangely enough, it ain't bad. And I actually have firsthand experience with this. Recent firsthand experience. Not this past Saturday, but the Saturday before that, there was a festival in Seattle's Chinatown called Dragon Fest. And the school that I've now started training with... You got something to say? Are you trying to tell this story? There was Dragon Fest in Seattle, and it was this big deal event in Chinatown where a whole lot of kung fu schools got together and they did demos and exhibitions and showed off their stuff. And the school I was training with was there. Now, I had just joined the school, so I didn't really think there was anything for me to do other than to like post the camera up. Now, I got my food over here. But they wanted me. They were like, "Hey, you said you've done some sword sparring before, and you're not bad with the forms right now. Go up there and spar. Not do an exhibition. Not do a demo. Not show off some drills or some basic two-person. No, put on your armor, get out there and spar with this guy who's been doing this sword stuff for 3 years straight." So, needless to say, I was gonna get destroyed. And I didn't get messed up nearly as bad as I thought I would. I mean, the guy still obviously had more skills than I did, but I actually got off a few hits, and people were actually impressed with both of us. But the whole point of me bringing this up is the fact that we use Shinai, modified Shinai. Like, we actually cut down the handles so they would be gen length. And I think they put a little extra stuff in the handles and put a little bit more weight so the balance would be just right, since when you cut off, obviously when you're modifying the handle, you're messing with the balance and the weight. But yeah, the guys in the school, they modified the handles so that they were short enough for one hand use. The balance felt just right, and that's what we used, and it worked. I wouldn't say they were perfect, but for what you're trying, if all you're just trying to get some sword fighting going, the weight felt decent, the balance felt decent. Like when I was doing the wrap tech, when you're doing the basic circular techniques, the balance point felt just right. So, yeah, it worked. And I knew someone was going to ask that question. Is there a video of that sparring event? Yes and no. It was recorded. It is not up yet. As soon as it's up, I will send you guys the link, and you guys can laugh at how I got torn to shreds. Deal? So, like, I know as much as you do about when that video is going up, but I do know it was recorded because I was there. Once it's up, I will let you guys know. I might even ask if I can get my hands on some of the footage myself. Like, if I should, the next time I go to class, I'm going to just ask the dude if I see him again, because we go to different classes. I might just ask him, dude, if you haven't put it up yet, can I get my hands on the raw footage? And I'll see what he says. And I also got to find out what my instructors say, because technically it's the footage that they want to put up for their school. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, someone says, have I tried measuring my gen according to George Silver's method? No. Like I said, I have my own particular, I just like, look, I know what I like working with. I like working with 30 to 32. That's what I've always worked with. I don't feel comfortable with 28. 30 to 32. Period. I'm a rather utilitarian person. If something works, it works. If I do like doing things at a fine detail, and she's adding her own commentary. She's probably telling me I have no idea what I'm talking about. But yeah, generally speaking, like, I just know that 30 to 32 works for me one-handed, and 32 up to about, say, 36 works for me two-handed. I know that works for me, and that's what I stick with. If somebody just has some like specialized measuring this, that, and the other thing, I mean, if it works for them, fine. I just know what works for me, and that's what I stick with. Okay, and all right, this is the last question I am going to answer, unfortunately, because I got to put her to bed. I'm sorry, guys, that it was like this. I am going to try my best to make it up for you next Sunday. I really promise. And this is a good question that I'll find. Mr. Sparkles asks, what do I think of MMA versus traditional martial arts thing that seems to be raging on in China? I think it's long overdue. If I'm going to be blunt, I've discussed this at length before. but I honestly feel that it's long overdue. Um, I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit that when it comes to martial arts, people train in it for different reasons. Um, are you training in it for health and fitness? Fine. Are you training in it for meditation and enlightenment? Fine, you know. But the root of martial arts has always been combat. And if their technique, if the way you're practicing your technique is not going to defend you against a common street thug with a chip on his shoulder, then you're not really training in a fighting art. And basically, the way you can only test an art on its merits. In other words, whatever that thing is supposed to do, that's what you're going to get tested on. So if you're a hip hop DJ and they want to test your skills, they're not going to do it by quoting poetry at you. They're going to be like, yo, we're going to go on the wheels of steel and I'm going to start mixing my mix compared to yours. Let's see who can mix better, motherfucker. That's how it's done. That's how it's always been done. Breakdancing. Can I dance better than you? Never mind if you're dancing for fitness. If I'm challenging you, I'm not challenging you how fit you are. I'm challenging you how good your moves are. Can you flow? You got techniques. Like, can you do that? So if we're going to be going out with martial arts, yes, I know people do like point sparring where they're like, is my form better than yours? But the root of martial arts is combat. I mean, look, are you going to see me jump into an MMA ring? My old ass? No. But I understand that. Let's put it this way. When I bump into another fellow martial artist and we start talking about what we've learned, sooner or later we're going to go in the backyard. That's how it is. I want to see where I'm at. I want to see how good my skills are. We're going to go to the backyard. I'm not necessarily out to knock your teeth out, but I want to see where I'm at. You need to chill out. This is why this is going to be the last question, guys. So, I mean, hell, even in my school, we train in, like, the traditional Chinese way. We do our forms, we do our drills, but at the end of the class, we spar for a little bit. We got to make sure the techniques are alive. And too many people in mainland China, too many so-called masters, have never trained this way. For a very long time, for a variety of reasons in China. There's several reasons. Part of it is because of government interference. Part of it is because of a lack of, respect for the fighting aspect of it. People have not been tested the way they used to be. And because they haven't been tested the way they used to be, they were in for a rude awakening. And now here comes MMA keeping the place. You need to chill, you. All right. Do you want to go back in the crib? Do you want to go back in the crib? Because I'll put you back in the crib. That's what I thought. You need to chill. I can't let you go because you're going to get into things. Okay. Give me, guys, 1 second. I'm going to put her back there. She might be yelling a little bit, but I just want to answer this one question real quick, and then I got to cut off the stream. So hold on for a second. You're going back in the crib. I warned you. I warned you. You're going back. You were going back. Okay? You watch her for a bit. I'm putting the barrier in the way. Yes. I warned you. I warned you. Then you need to stop screaming. Are you going to relax it? Is that better? Is that better? I cannot put you down. Because if I put you down, you're going to get into things that you're not supposed to get into. So are you going to chill? Are you going to chill? Oh, God, guys. Again, I am sorry about all this. Oh, God. Anyway, I had bad boys going around challenging traditional schools. Yeah, I know about that. Anyway, let me just end it off right here with this. This is a long time coming. Part of the reason is these guys have not been tested. They just haven't. Another reason is, quite frankly, MMA has been taking China by storm. And it's kind of funny to me how that's not really being talked about. Like, they'll say, oh yeah, some MMA guy challenged this traditional martial artist without any context to, well, what is an MMA guy doing in China? You know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people's first thought before they saw the video, they're hearing MMA guy challenging a Chinese martial artist, they're thinking some Westerner, right? No, it's another Chinese dude. Because it's taking China by storm. They're seeing people using arts that actually work. So they're, you know, people are flocking to it. They're going to the gyms. They're learning the grappling techniques. They're learning, you know, the kicks. And then they're making fools of these other guys who've never fought. They've just practiced forms and maybe pushed somebody around a little bit. But they haven't been tested. And that's what martial arts used to be tested. That's how you became well known. You claim to be a master or an expert in a certain fighting art, or you claim to have made up a whole new art, you're gonna get tested. And if you pass the test, cool. If you fail the test, we never hear about you anymore, except from funny stories about how you got knocked out. That's what it used to be. It's happening again. And it was bound to. Because, quite frankly, MMA was challenging everybody. You got to remember, before the whole MMA thing started out with grapplers saying that strikers didn't know what they were doing. And grapplers were messing up the strikers until the strikers did their homework and then came back and started dealing with, you know, the grappling techniques. Now they learned the anti-grappling techniques and forced the grapplers to fight their game. And then they started challenging other martial artists. Oh, this style sucks. Traditional karate will never survive in the ring against. Now the traditional karate guys are showing their stuff. Oh, Taekwondo, the kicks are too flashy. Their tough stuff was, and now you're seeing Taekwondo guys doing their thing in the ring. It's Kung Fu's turn. That's pretty much what we're seeing. It's Kung Fu's turn, well, for lack of a better term. It's time for them. And it's already happening. Like, behind the scenes, we're seeing, like, traditional Chinese martial artists like, well, we can't keep losing face like this. So now they're learning how to deal with it. You know? Now, I will say this. If some people are thinking it's unprecedented that Chinese fighters are willing to learn an art from elsewhere in order to deal with it, this is nothing new at all. In fact, several Chinese arts only came about because of cross-referencing with other arts, or other cultures coming up with their own art that got integrated into China. I don't really have time to go into all of it right now. I really need to do a video on this. I gotta do a video on a lot of things. But generally speaking, there is, you know, there's different style, like Cha Fist, for instance, which many people consider a quintessential long fist, was developed by the Hui people, who they're Muslims. They're not, you know, I mean, now they're nationally Chinese, but they were originally considered foreigners. And they influenced a great deal of long fist Kung Fu in China. There is, you know, what you call it, Sanshu, which incorporates a lot of Western boxing in there, incorporates a lot of Thai boxing techniques. So the main thing that's Chinese in Sanshu is the throwing techniques that they use, the tripping techniques they use. But the other stuff they use comes from other arts. You know, integrating other stuff is nothing new. Hell, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that the two-handed Dao fighting technique that the Chinese used, some of it was lost and got imported into Japan. Japan developed their own stuff, then brought it back to China. The China's like, oh, this stuff is effective. They're killing us with it. And then they developed it further, which is how we ended up with, you know, the Dan Dao forms and the Shuangsu Dao forms. So China, you know, borrowing from other arts to strengthen their own or integrate into their own, it's not new history. It just seems new to us because China always keeps talking about their long history of Kung Fu. So if you don't know too much about how these arts developed, it may seem like all of a sudden, oh man, they're having to learn something foreign now. They've been doing it for a long time. It's just that they're kind of overdue for a new influx of information. I will say this though, and this is the last thing I'm going to say before I cut off. There is no reason to suggest that their arts are so incomplete that they can't fight with them. It's just that they have to start fighting with them again. And they have to learn to adapt their art to these new techniques. If the style's combat theory is sound, they can continue to use that theory. They just have to learn how to apply it in a new scenario. If they can't apply it, well, time to throw out that theory and come up with a new one. But if, let's say, it's all about just simply power issuance, some styles are really not much more than just how to deliver the blow. Like the blows themselves are kind of the same as you see in other arts, but this style may say that, well, instead of relying on your legs to deliver the power, torque your spine. Still rely on your legs, but they put more emphasis on the twisting of your spine. Well, okay, fine, you're talking power issuance. But how do you apply that in a fight? Well, that depends on the individual and the fighter you're going up against. So, yeah, just to bring it right back to the beginning, yeah, the stuff happening in China is overdue. It's fighters reminding other people calling themselves fighters that they need to learn to fight before they can start calling themselves martial artists. That's all I have to say about it. And I mean, again, I'm somebody who likes traditional Chinese martial arts. That's my food. I'm somebody that likes traditional martial arts. I will continue practicing Chinese martial arts until I'm dead and gone. But I've long been willing to point out the flaws in the people practicing them. And there's too many people who just are claiming mastery and expertise and power, and they've never fought. And now the people who are training to fight are like, okay, put up or shut up. And they're being forced to put up. It's overdue. It is way overdue. That's what I got to say about it. So, but again, even though I'm saying it's way overdue, I don't want to make it look like, oh, they've had it coming for centuries. There's always a new wealth of information that comes in, and they have to rethink their thinking. They have to reapply their arts, and then they're able to do it. You give them enough time, they're able to make their arts, put new life into their arts again. It'll happen. I'm pretty sure the odds are good that they'll make Chinese martial arts work something again. So we'll see. All right. So I'm glad you guys were able to stick with the stream despite the many mishaps along the way. I will do my best to make it up to you guys next week. I wasn't planning on doing a Q&A next week, but I will. Will I ever analyze some African martial arts? Okay, I said that was the last one, but I'll have to do this one. I would like to. It's just that I don't know too much about them. I have been doing a little bit of background. I have been doing a little bit of background research on the sly on some African martial arts because I'm kind of interested in them. Like I've been looking into like South African stick fighting because that's been piquing my interest for a while. I was looking, there was a channel that was showing some different African blade arts, and I've been really trying to research the sword arts of places like Senegal, because I noticed that there isn't much talked about the fact that these guys use swords. Most people, when they think of African fighting, they think of spears and shields and the occasional stick, but you start looking toward North Africa, you start seeing swords, and not just among the Arab nations, but among, you know, the darker skinned ones as well, but you don't hear much about it. And I'm especially interested in some of the straight-bladed stuff and if that's still being practiced, or if anybody knows anything about them. So I'm trying to dig up as much as I can, which admittedly is not much. But when I finally get enough to actually talk about it, I will talk about it because I find it interesting. I just wish there was more about it, you know? So anyway, again, I apologize for how the stream came about. I really didn't want it to be this way. It's just, this is how the day went. I will do my best to try to make up for it next Sunday. I'll keep you guys up to date on how it's going, and yeah, hopefully I'll make up for it next Sunday. We'll just go straight into Q&A and make a big deal, goofy thing out of it. Oh, one more thing. In about an hour from now, because I know a couple of you have already mentioned to me that you were interested in some gaming stuff. I currently am playing Dark Souls 3, obviously, Killing Floor 2, Payday 2, and believe it or not, go ahead and laugh. Go ahead and laugh. Assassin's Creed Unity. Laugh. I know. I picked, there was that summer sale on Steam. I know the many problems with Unity, but it was placed in my one of my favorite historical settings, the French Revolution. And I actually have a lot to say about that game and the story and how much it actually surprised me and how it actually has relevance to what's going on right now. So actually expect a video on that, but I'm mentioning these games right now because, like, if any of you guys are interested in us meeting up for that, any of these games you guys want to meet up in, let me know. Just let me know. Send me a message or something. You know, contact me through Patreon. Those of you on Patreon, I'll set something up. Hell, I got a private server for Killing Floor 2, in fact. I already set that up. And me and a few friends jump in there a few nights every now and then and just destroy Zeds until we've had our fill. So Just let me know if you're interested. I'm going to be up for a good chunk of the evening. So after I put her to sleep, because you need to go to sleep. I need my sanity. I need my sanity. Thanks for putting up with this, guys. I will make it up to you next week. Until then, catch you guys later. Have a good night, right? Thanks for showing up. I really do appreciate it.